Chapter 2242. Fuck. Tan cursed. You want to be a hands-off shopkeeper? How can you do that? You'll come back easily. With a whoosh he chased after Tan. Now let's discuss how to proceed with this matter, how to develop it, and how to avoid problems. Chuyang rubbed his eyebrows. Didn't that person just chase after Master? One of the demon saints grinned, and said a little cautiously. The person in front of him was not an ordinary person. He was a master, who dared to kill Moyen Tiantai on the spot. It was not an exaggeration to say that Chuyang was the #1 troublemaker in the Heaven Imperial Court. Moreover, he was not at the level of one of. It's better to be careful when talking to such a person. What if he gets angry and kills me? Judging from Grand Master's attitude towards him, Grand Master might not be angry and avenge me. Instead, Grand Master might jump up and down and applaud me for doing a good job. If that happens, I'll be wronged. Zhang Lixing thought. Zai, don't wait for them. Chu Yang's face was sad. Do you really think that he went to chase after your master? He's just using this reason to run away. Let's be hands-off shopkeepers together. These two bastards. Let dumbass accompany dumbass to go crazy. Without them, we won't have to come up with any bad ideas. Maybe we can save more money. All the demons fell into a moment of silence. Then they burst into laughter. Sure enough, Tan didn't return even when night fell. Chuyang and the other humans and demons had arranged everything properly. However, Tan still hadn't returned. Everyone was full of admiration for Chuyang's foresight in understanding people's minds. After the discussion, Chuyang returned to his residence. His forehead was full of black lines, and he kept cursing. I've never seen such a stingy person. Chuyang complained to Tai Butian. Yao Ningning's mother is the master of a heaven. This Yao Xian is too stingy. She only sent out a few demons, and she didn't even give a little money or resources. She's really stingy. The rules of the event are all set by me, and the prizes are all provided by me. The accommodation of the people is all arranged by me, and the order of the event is completely maintained by me. Is she ordering people around? From the beginning to the end, only the Grand Highness who doesn't care about anything is eating, drinking, and playing here. There are also 1,000 demons for us to order around. However, we are also responsible for their food and accommodation. We eat and drink for free and do a little work. Chuyang said angrily. Even if this demon empress doesn't treat me like a fool, she treats me like a worker. I'm really unhappy. Tai Butian and Wu Qian immediately burst into laughter. I say, don't act like you're the victim of a bargain. Isn't the demon empress good enough for you? Her series of actions is equivalent to giving you a green light in the entire demon emperor's heaven, allowing you to develop your forces as you wish in her territory. In this entire matter, you are the only one who benefited from it. Yet, you are still spouting nonsense here. I have never seen such a toothless person like you, Chuyang said with melancholy. But how can I have so many people? Where can I get so much money? Are you saying that I'm being unreasonable? Isn't this what you need to develop? Tai Butian snorted and said, Actually, I'm thinking that this might be a test from the Demon Empress for you. If you can't even do something like this well, how are you going to accomplish great things in the future? Wu Qian said with confidence and full of trust. Chuyang, you can do it. Don't let me down. Chuyang looked up to the sky and sighed. Once these words came out, it simply forced me into a desperate situation. How can a man say that he can't do it? Especially in front of the women he loves. Not to mention in front of the women he loves. Needless to say, after Chuyang finished complaining, he began to work at full speed. King of Sabers? In addition to the ordinary reward, there should be an additional saber. This saber can't be an ordinary one. King of Swords is roughly the same, right? The other kings also need to be equipped with supporting facilities, right? There should be a rule in this place, right? Draw it out. King of Assassins, how can this thing be manifested? This needs to be discussed, right? This Luohua city has been an old city for millions of years. How can it be destroyed so casually? People in Jianghu are generally difficult to control. Conflicts are probably inevitable. This needs to be mediated, right? There are not so many places to eat in the whole Luohua city. This problem also needs to be solved, right? To deal with so many things at the same time, all of them need purple cloud coins, right? Even if you have all the money, some things can't be bought with money, because the volume of Luohua City is limited. Chu Yang felt a headache coming on due to all of the above reasons. He had not slept for 3 days and 3 nights. The Tang family's third young master's auction house was like a big sale. He had sold a lot of good things and collected a lot of money. Then, Chu Yang continued to work on other things. Fortunately, there were enough helpers and demons. Moreover, Tai Butian, Wu Qianqian, Zi Xieching and the other women were used to seeing big and fierce characters. They were not flustered at all. Although everyone was unusually busy, they tried to do it in an orderly and clear manner. There was also Huyan Aobua, Xie Danfeng, Madame Mei and the other women's army gave full assistance. Meng Wuya was a great general. Chu Yang, the absolute key person, was in charge of the arrangements. Finally, the urgent situation was solved. At least, there weren't any big mistakes so far. It's just that Chu Yang was really so busy that he didn't have any idle people under him. Moreover, everyone was so busy that they were having a lot of fun. The arenas were also set up one after another outside the city. There were hundreds of them. Someone was responsible for recording in each arena. At first glance, it looked like a large-scale sports event in the whole Heavenly Imperial Court. It really looked like, finally, after many twists and turns, on the 8th day, all kinds of rules of the competition were fully formulated. In these 8 days, the huge amount of purple cloud coins that Chu Yang had earned before really flowed out like water. No, it should be like the high tide of the sea, or a river bursting the dike. This shocking speed of spending money made those saints who thought they were knowledgeable all stare with their mouths agape, and cold sweat dripping down their backs. It seemed that they had never seen such a spending spree in their lives. Using the most conservative rough calculation, the amount of purple cloud coins that Chu Yang had spent in these 8 days was at least 70 million. If it was converted to purple cloud coins, 80 billion, on average, it was almost 100 billion per day. I've lived for so many years, and I feel that my experience is not shallow. But this is the first time I've seen so much money, and it's spent in such a short period of time. If it were someone else, or even a bigger clan, even if they could spend as much as they wanted, how could they spend so much money in a few generations? I think it's impossible to spend it. A saint of the demon race stroked his beard, and was very emotional. Yes. If I had so much money. Sigh. I'm afraid I might not be able to cultivate to this level. There's a big chance that I would have died long ago. What does it mean to squander money like dirt? I've finally seen it today. It's like squandering crystals like dirt. A very lecherous expert was drooling. TSK. Everyone looked at this good-for-nothing with disdain, although the phrase squandering crystals like dirt was a bit more appropriate. Outside the city, every few hundred feet, there was a large martial arts arena rising from the ground. These arenas were completely bare. There was nothing to climb on. There was a relatively wide platform on top. If one wanted to go up, they would have to jump up. There were also clear rules. One was not allowed to borrow strength on the way up. Anyone who needed to borrow strength on the way up would be disqualified. In addition, all the light spirit jades on people or demons who participated in the competition would be confiscated. In this way, the participants would have their own gravity increased by at least 30 times. Furthermore, to be able to jump up a few hundred feet, one's cultivation level would have to be at least saint level or above. In front of each arena, there was a black mass of heads. They were discussing something in full swing. Looking out from a high vantage point, one could only see a black mass of people stretching out. It was boundless. One could not see the end of it with a glance. If someone at the edge of the crowd looked even further, they would only see an endless stream of people coming from afar like a tide. On the morning of the same day, the rules of the competition were finally released and posted. Furthermore, 10,000 copies were posted at once. No one was allowed to tear them down and take them away. But even so, there was still a shortage of demand. First, according to each region, for example, the experts of each city and each region, they will form a small group. The person with the highest cultivation level will be selected to advance, and participate in the competition. Once the winner of the competition, they can form a small group of their own. Anyone in this region can form a large group. They will be divided into ranks and trained diligently in preparation for the day when they can slay demons. This was only the first rule, but when the first rule was announced, it immediately caused a huge commotion. Lone Bamboo City, over here! Someone shouted at the top of his lungs. Heavenly Sun City, over here! Chrysanthemum City, gather over here! Steamed Bun City, gather here, gather here! Blackback Region, gather here! Wild Wolf Region, over here! Tail Region! Spectre Region. For a moment, almost everyone was in a mess. However, under these specific rules, they quickly formed their own groups. Then, they basically formed groups of several thousand people and began to discuss martial arts rankings. Chapter 2243. There were even some areas where the more experts there were, the more they refused to submit to each other. In order to seize the position of leader, they started to fight on the spot. They didn't give in on the spot and didn't show any mercy. Although blood hadn't been spilled yet, it wouldn't be rare to see blood. I recommend chopsticks. Chopsticks are awesome. Chopsticks are nothing. How can they be compared to Hai Kong? Hai Kong is nothing. If you have the ability, come out and fight. If you don't dare to come out, then why are you shouting? Most of the people who came here were Jianghu people, and they were all lawless big demons. When they quarreled, all the creatures in the whole Luohua city felt dizzy and uncomfortable. Chu Yang's new rule came out at the right time. If they couldn't form their own team within 2 days, the whole area would be disqualified, effective immediately. Hurry up, hurry up. You haven't eaten yet. Look at your lazy look. Hurry up and change your team. Don't waste everyone's time. Suddenly, it became a series of urging voices, one after another, and the waves were turbulent and endless. Chu Yang's ears were full of noisy noises, and he felt a big headache. Finally, 2 days later, under the various emotions of dissatisfaction, joy, indignation, and anger, the various brigades of the various regions miraculously formed into an army. This morning, they actually started to line up neatly one by one, although there were still some loose and crooked lines. But compared to the previous time, it was definitely a huge improvement. When Chu Yang and the others saw this scene, they couldn't help but stare at it with their eyes wide open. Such a strict military formation. Am I dreaming? This progress seems to be too big, too incredible, isn't it? Although this lineup was still far from the military order of a regular army, but to be able to achieve this in just 1 or 2 days was already very, very difficult. Chu Yang rolled his eyes and began to speak. Everyone, you've really surprised me today. Haha, I can see that all of you are good people. My name is Chu Yang, and I'm in charge of the overall planning of this event. Furthermore, once we form an army to fight against the extraterrestrial demons in the future, I'll basically be the one in command. And, for example, the nightmare region here is very good. The order is quite good. From here, you can see the ability of the organizers over there. It is really extraordinary. And the chrysanthemum region's performance is also very good. The arrangement is very good. It seems that the leader is also a person that everyone has high hopes for, a great talent. Asterisk cough cough asterisk. As for the others, they are slightly inferior. Asterisk n, the event will officially start tomorrow. This time, the discussion was transmitted far away by the sages with the help of the wind. Everyone in the Luohua city could hear it clearly. This was Chu Yang's first order, and also the most severe one so far. But once this order was out, it was exactly to the liking of these martial artists. What was the reason for millions of people to gather here? It was nothing more than to exterminate the heavenly demons. Since everyone was on the same side and had a common enemy, why was there a need to kill each other and break their own wings? Saber experts, it's rare for us to gather here today. I'm Chrysanthemum Saber King Li Guanyu, from Chrysanthemum City's Chrysanthemum Pass. I'm throwing a brick to attract jade, and I wish to take up the position of Saber King. Of course, we have some self-awareness, but we are not willing to belittle ourselves. Everyone who is interested can come up and give us some pointers. After the initial silence, someone finally took the lead to break this silence. A man in a green robe floated up like a green cloud, without the slightest pause. He floated up like an immortal. And just like that, he floated up a 1,000-feet-high platform. Just this move alone was not something an ordinary cultivator could do. This person's face was thin, and he was extremely handsome. His figure was tall, and he looked very scholarly and refined. He did not look like someone who was going up to spar with the saber. Instead, he looked like a scholar holding a book of poetry and going up to spar. Chrysanthemum Saber King Li Guanyu. This person's saber cultivation is not small. I'm afraid his cultivation has already reached the level of a saint. If he wants the position of Saber King, I'm afraid that other than the few people in our heavenly armament pavilion, no one else can compete with him. On one side, there were people who specifically explained the origin and story of this Chrysanthemum Saber King to Chu Yang. Although Chu Yang could roughly judge the strength of the target, he was still not a native of Demon Emperor Heaven. Although he did not know anything about the identity and specialties of the experts of Demon Emperor Heaven, he knew very little. Yes, the days of Heavenly Armament Pavilion's Lightning Snake and the others are still too short. Their cultivation is unavoidably unstable. I'm afraid they are still not a match for this Chrysanthemum Saber King. Chu Yang nodded deeply. Indeed, Li Guanyu grew up in Chrysanthemum City since he was young. Later on, his cultivation was great, and he occupied the entire Chrysanthemum Pass by himself. This person was originally a scholar, but for some reason, he gave up on martial cultivation and actually became a Saber King. Just based on his saber cultivation, there are few people who can match him. There are also rumors that this person loves chrysanthemums. He often says, 100 flowers love the chrysanthemum. After the chrysanthemum blooms, there are no more flowers. The chrysanthemum taste is even more beautiful. After the chrysanthemum is fried, it makes good tea. This Chrysanthemum Saber King loves chrysanthemums to the point of infatuation. He strolls around the chrysanthemum all year round, enjoying himself so much that he forgets to leave. In addition, he immersed himself in the chrysanthemum for many years, but because of the chrysanthemum, he unexpectedly comprehended a peerless saber technique. It is the chrysanthemum saber that made him famous. Under the hands of this Chrysanthemum Saber King, who knows how many billions of chrysanthemums have withered. People call him the Chrysanthemum Saber King, or the Chrysanthemum Hero. Moreover, every move of Li Guanyu's saber technique has the word chrysanthemum in it. The most powerful technique is called the Chrysanthemum Saber King. 10,000 chrysanthemums explode together. One saber is like 10,000 chrysanthemums exploding at the same time. Its power is truly unparalleled. He is indeed a character. After listening to this introduction, Chu Yang nodded and said, "Looks like this Chrysanthemum Saber King is indeed something. Li Guanyu, this name is also very good. There is a bit of artistic conception." Meng Wuya nodded and praised. At this time, while the demon expert was introducing the Chrysanthemum Saber King to Chu Yang, there were already people who did not want to be outdone and rushed up to fight with the Chrysanthemum Saber King. There is a saying that people despise each other, and martial artists fear each other. Although the Chrysanthemum Saber King was famous for his fighting prowess, it was not to the extent that no one dared to test his edge. There was already a saber cultivator great demon, who went up the stage to challenge him. The two stood together, and the battle was exceptionally brilliant. It is said that this Chrysanthemum Saber King loves beauties very much. His wives and concubines are as numerous as the clouds. As the saying goes, the Chrysanthemum Saber King is not depressed. At the side, the commentator completely ignored the battle above, and only introduced the story of this Chrysanthemum Saber King to Chu Yang in detail. Yes, this Chrysanthemum Saber King seems to be quite knowledgeable. If he can stand out, he should have the ability to hold his own. Chu Yang seemed to be listening, but in fact he turned a deaf ear. His divine sense had already locked onto the battle, paying attention to the battle above. This Chrysanthemum Saber King was indeed worthy of his reputation. His saber skills were outstanding. Although he had not used his killing move, he had already made the great demon opposite him sweat profusely. He could only parry, and did not have the strength to fight back. It looked like he was about to lose. 3 things. First, fever, slightly dizzy, not very serious. Second, prestige event is ongoing. Brothers and sisters who have not added my public prestige can add me. Search for Wind Rides the World on the public prestige platform, and you will find me. Mo Qing Wu, who was still in the land of chaos, inexplicably let out a soft cry of joy. Chu Yang, are you thinking of me? She suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes shot out an enchanting divine light of transcendence, full of happiness and satisfaction. All of his previous worries about personal gains and losses, as well as being neither close nor distant, suddenly disappeared without a trace. As long as you miss me, no matter where you are, no matter where you are, I can feel it if you miss me. No matter how far away we are, as long as you have me in your heart, I have no regrets. Mo Qing Wu's emotions seemed to have sensed some subtle changes. She became calm and peaceful. All the previous worries, all the pettiness, all the jealousy, all disappeared without a trace at this moment, as if they didn't exist. It turns out that what I want is actually so simple and pure, just like this. Extreme in love, extreme in dharma, extreme in heart, all dharma is extreme. Under the dumbfounded, tongue-tied, incredulous and disbelieving gazes of the two grandmasters, Mo Qing Wu's body suddenly rose 3 feet slowly, and just like that she fell in midair. The next moment, the boiling aura around her suddenly paused, as if it was completely still. Then, the sky full of multicolored light danced and fell crazily, as if the sky was collapsing. Below her, there were countless holy white lights surging in spirals, turning into a holy and pure white lotus. It kept surging and blooming, like a fountain, countless petals kept coming out. It held Mo Qing Wu's body steadily. 1 flower, 2 flowers, 3 flowers, slowly, the number of holy white lotuses that emerged finally reached the limit 1. However, the white light from the ground was still gushing out crazily, half of it entering Mo Qing Wu's body, and the other half entering that white lotus. It was endless, endless, endless. The 4 eyeballs of the two grandmasters popped out of their eye sockets at the same time. The two of them stretched their necks, widened their eyes, tilted their heads, and opened their mouths wide. This appearance was undoubtedly extremely indecent, especially on the bodies of women, and 2 of them were rather good-looking women. There was no need to doubt, and no need to be puzzled. The members of the dreamlike secular pavilion were all women, especially those with high status. What was so surprising about the 2 elders being women, and very beautiful women at that? But 2 beautiful women losing their composure at the same time was undoubtedly very indecent, very embarrassing. But the 2 of them obviously couldn't think of any indecent or embarrassing questions now, and were directly in a mess. For a moment, their minds were in a mess, and they didn't know what to think or say. There were only 4 words in their minds. How is this possible? This can't be. How can this be? After a long time, the 2 of them finally came back to their senses. If anyone wants to go out, you can go out by yourself. You are free to enter and leave. Go and see that person, even if he is already under the yellow soil. Immediately gather all the higher-ups of the dreamlike mortal pavilion, and start the cultivation method discussion. One order after another was sent out like flowing water. The entire dreamlike mortal pavilion was suddenly in an uproar. A few days later, many graceful figures left the mountain gate, as if they were flying. They flew in different directions as if their lives were on the line. I want to see your grave. I want to see you under the yellow soil. I want to tell you that I was wrong. I was really wrong. I let you down. Let me tell you, if there is a next life, I will definitely marry you. As long as you still want me. I want to see you now. No matter if you are white-haired or old, I want to ask you, if I marry you now, will you still want me? Is it too late? Is it too late? I am coming. No matter how you are now, wait for me. You must wait for me. Every woman's face and eyes were filled with indescribable anxiety. There was anticipation, shyness, but also fear and hesitation. I hurt you like that before. But now I know that I was indeed wrong. Will you still want me? The feelings that I severed back then, are they still there now? There was only one person who was flying at top speed, with an intoxicating smile on her face that was full of satisfaction and a sincere desire to meet soon. That was Emo Qinggu. Emo Qinggu finally left the dreamlike mortal pavilion. She flew all the way to the Demon Emperor heaven, traveling day and night. She almost didn't rest at all as she hurried on her journey. The mountains were thousands of miles away, and the rivers were long. But her heart had long had a clear direction. Her final destination. Now, she was flying towards her own happiness. The end of this journey was the end of her dream. Other than that, everything else in the world was no longer in her eyes, and no longer existed in her heart. Chu Yang, I am coming. From now on, I will go through thick and thin with you, share a fate and dance together. For life, I will never leave you. Before Emo Qinggu left, at the Dreamlike Mortal Pavilion's Cultivation Techniques seminar, everyone sincerely sought advice from Emo Qinggu. How exactly should one break through the barrier of love? Emo Qinggu only left behind 4 sentences. Light like a dream, floating like a dream, dancing and chanting like a sea of blood and a mountain of bones. Don't question a sword for 1,000 miles, life and death together. Chu Yang said heavily. I think you should understand what I mean. Senior Crazy Book. Crazy Book was sweating profusely when he heard this. He had always thought so and had never doubted it. Just as Chu Yang said, Yuan Tianji helped him find the culprits. At the beginning, he had questioned the few people in detail. There was also one person whom he tortured to death, and confirmed to be the real culprits of that day. But when he killed people later on, it was half based on the confessions given by those people, and half with Yuan Tianji's help. After he found the culprits, he killed them indiscriminately, and without leaving any leeway. Killing people without leaving any leeway was certainly satisfying, but on the other hand, it also lacked the true intention of cutting off all enmity. Even if Yuan Tianjia was a suspect, if Yuan Tianjia was prepared to sacrifice the lives of these 18 people, even if that was the case, Yuan Tianjia would still spare a few people and let the others, or those who disobeyed Yuan Tianjia, be the scapegoats. Anyway, they had already been killed. The dead tell no tales. Now that he thought about it, the more powerful the real culprits were, the more powerful they were. Some of them were even super experts of their own world. Even though he had put in a lot of effort to set them up, it also took a lot of manpower and material resources to succeed. Every time he thought of this, he would be more grateful to Yuan Tianji. But was it Yuan Tianji who helped him take revenge? Or was he just listening to one side and working for others? The Heavenly Book Divine Technique is all-encompassing. It probably includes the way of hatred, right? Chu Yang said lightly. I heard that if one's cultivation reaches a high level, he can go back in time. Speaking of this, Chu Yang's eyes looked up. Opposite him, Crazy Book was shocked. He doesn't have any memories. At this time, what will you do? When your friend just died, you're so angry that you can't even take revenge for him. After the passage of time, can you still act rashly for a moment? The most frightening thing is to weigh the gains and losses like this, and forget your original intention. After weighing and weighing, all the beautiful feelings in the world will be completely destroyed, and not a single drop will be left. So it's not a bad thing to read too much. But as long as the books are reasonable, they'll be affected. That's a bad thing. And you happen to be at this stage. At the beginning, you don't know how difficult the Heavenly Book Divine Technique is. You just keep your head down and focus on cultivation. Naturally, you'll be able to advance bravely and make rapid progress. But after reaching a certain point, you'll realize that the road ahead is really too wide. It's really too all-encompassing. This will instead give birth to fear and slack in your heart. This is the biggest obstacle for your cultivation to stagnate. Chu Yang said coldly. Those who are righteous are mostly dog butchers, while those who are unfaithful are mostly scholars. King of Books, you're now a heartless person. Your wife and concubine were killed. You also want to take revenge, but you didn't follow your original intention. Instead, you went to investigate and find out the real murderer. You just killed whoever others say it was. Do you think that you'll be done after killing the murderer? If I say that everyone in the world is your enemy, will you also kill them all? What does this blind revenge have to do with your hatred for your wife and concubine? It's fine if you kill the right person. If you kill the wrong person, you'll be committing another sin for them in the underworld. Xu Kuang was sweating profusely. His stable state of mind, at the level of a high-level saint, collapsed at this moment. As the Heavenly Armament Pavilion's recruitment activities became more and more vigorous, more and more experts from all over the Demon Emperor Heaven gathered. And this phenomenon lasted for more than 2 months before it slowly decreased. With so many people gathering, the venue naturally needed to be big enough. Slowly, the surrounding 3,000 miles around Luohua City became the territory of the Heavenly Armament Pavilion. This 3,000 miles of land was called the Land of Heavenly Punishment by later generations, because there were lightning and thunder almost every day, and almost every day, there were people who broke through their own limits. Ever since the Heavenly Devil War, there had never been a place like this in the entire Heaven Imperial Court. Of course, the intensity of the training here was enough to make one wish they were dead when they thought about it. It was a nightmare of the past. Chapter 2256. I heard that this place is only 7 days away from Luohua City where Chu Yang is. With my speed, as long as I put in a little more effort, I should be able to get there in 3 days. Mo Qinggu heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. The end of this road was near. At this moment, she suddenly heard a loud noise in the sky. Then, she saw 2 rainbows flash violently, and then disappeared in the sky. It's really strange. It's already winter, and it's still snowing heavily. How can a rainbow appear here? Mo Qingwu wrinkled her elegant brows. She was puzzled as she muttered to herself. Although her current cultivation was very high, she still didn't understand the higher level of cultivation of the Saint Peak. After her cultivation improved that day, she couldn't wait to travel the Jianghu. Naturally, she had never heard of it. Although she had doubts in her heart, hurrying on was more important now. So she hurried on. After walking for hundreds of miles, she unexpectedly heard a faint groan coming from the side of the forest. Is someone injured? Mo Qinggu hesitated and thought. In this cold weather, the injured person is too pitiful. Mo Qinggu was kind by nature. Thinking of this, she turned and followed the sound. Entering the dense forest, she saw a human head poking out from under the snow with difficulty. Suddenly, a dark human head emerged from the pure white snowy ground. Mo Qinggu was startled at once. No matter how high her cultivation was, Mo Qinggu was still a girl in the prime of her life. Unexpectedly seeing such a situation, how could she not be shocked? Taking a closer look, this person's head seemed to still be attached to his body. However, he was forcing himself to crawl out. After crawling out halfway, he couldn't crawl any further. His 2 hands were about to stiffen. If no one came to save him, he would probably die completely. Mo Qinggu patted her chest and murmured, I was scared to death. I thought it was a ghost. It turned out to be half human and half ghost. This person was now in such a state. How was he different from half human and half ghost? However, if Mo Qinggu didn't help, the remaining half of the person would soon become the other half of the ghost. Mo Qingwu cautiously walked over and patted that person's cheek, saying, I say, are you okay? That person had already fainted, but after being slapped on the face, his instincts kicked in, and he immediately woke up. He opened his eyes, and a sharp gaze shot out. It was actually mixed with endless dignity. He said in a low voice, You dare to slap my face? Along with these words, an awe-inspiring and inviolable aura surged out. However, what was completely inconsistent with his imposing manner was, right after he finished speaking, his head tilted to the side, and he fainted once more. That imposing aura instantly vanished into thin air. Mo Qingwu was startled when she saw this.